Hello and welcome. In this video, we're going to look at one of the speaking topics of the current season in IELTS, and the topic is describe a time when you went to a crowded or noisy place. So the approximate bullet points are what place it was, when you went there, who you went there with, what people do there, and why you liked or disliked it. So let's look at some words which can be used to describe a noisy or a crowded place. So you can say to swarm around something, or to squeeze through the crowd, or to be abuzz, which means to be filled with noise and activity. Or people were packed like sardines. Like if you're talking about a bus, a crowded bus during the rush hour, you can say people were packed like sardines, or to be teeming with people, or it was like a beehive. All right. Now, what kind of place can you talk about if you get this cue card? Well, you can talk about like a crowded bus or train during the rush hour, or the subway, or a train station or a railway station, or the city center, which can also be called downtown in American English, or CBD, which stands for Central Business District. It can also be a street market, which will give you an opportunity to describe what was sold in the market, and it can increase your score for vocabulary, for lexical resource, for your vocabulary range. Then you can talk about a building site or a construction site or a town square. Then when did you go there? Well, you can say something like, it must have been around a fortnight ago when I went there. So then you'll use a modal verb with perfect infinitive, must have been, then an uncommon lexical item with fortnight, or and maybe a complex sentence also, when. It must have been around a fortnight ago when I went there for the first time. So there will be a clause of time, which will give you a complex sentence. Then you can say that you did it when you were a child, like in my toddlerhood, if you're a really, really small child, who was just learning how to walk, or when I was knee-high to a grasshopper, if you want to add an element of humor to your speaking. Then when I was about 6 or 7, a long while ago, when I studied at school. Then who did you go with? Well, you can select something like with my bosom friend Gleb, or I went there on my own. I went with my besties, with my best friends, with a nodding acquaintance of mine, or just with an acquaintance of mine, with my second cousin, with my grandniece, with my great aunt. Choose some of the relatives. Um, okay, then what did you do there? If you want to talk about the market, you can say, well, I wanted to buy some freshly slaughtered livestock. Or if it's a shopping mall, you can say, I had a get together with my nearest and dearest. Or if it's a bus, I got held up in a traffic jam during the rush hour, and I had to spend hours and hours in stop and go bumper to bumper traffic, and there was no end in sight. All right. So then why was it noisy? Maybe there was some music playing, or people were talking and negotiating prices. They were bargaining or haggling over the price. Vendors were shouting to attract customers. Maybe they were speaking in stentorian voices. Stentorian means like very loud. Or there were crowds or hordes or throngs of people, and they were moving around and interacting with one another. Or some vendors were using megaphones or loudspeakers to boost their sales to attract more customers. All right. So once again, the task is describe a time when you went to a crowded place. You should say what place it was, then when you went there, who you went there with, what people do there, and why you liked or disliked it. Okay, I will try to produce my sample answer. I've been asked to talk about a crowded, noisy place which I visited, and the place which I can't help telling you about is Tisa Public Market in Cebu City in the Philippines. Actually, it must have been around a fortnight ago when I visited this place for the first time. It was my bosom friend Mike who recommended that I should visit this place for the simple reason that, prices for most fruits are exorbitant in supermarkets, while in a market, there is no need to shell out for them and they don't cost an arm and a leg. So, having taken my big shopping bag, I went there hoping to find something to my taste. I also wanted to go there because it is one of the oldest markets in Cebu, always abuzz with local people and holidaymakers who go there to buy a bewildering range of products such as fresh meat, for example, mutton, veal, and venison, or fresh fish, such as trout, salmon, pike, and mackerel, or even mushrooms, such as raceolus, bolituses, or chanterelles. Hardly had I arrived at the market when I was struck by the atmosphere. Not only was the market teeming with people, but all of them were also making a fair amount of noise. I could hear vendors speaking in stentorian voices trying to attract customers, buyers haggling over prices, and things like that. What made matters worse was the fact that some of the sellers even used loudspeakers to be noticed from a distance. As you might have already understood, I didn't want to stay there any longer. Unfortunately, the market was located on two sides of a road, which was full of cars. And the thing is that it was the rush hour and at that time, and the road was congested, so drivers were stuck in stop and go bumper to bumper traffic, and there was no end in sight. This is why it was a daunting task and a formidable challenge to try to get out of that place. However, in spite of all these seemingly insurmountable hurdles, not only could I buy some fresh produce in that place, but I also arrived home safe and sound, which I consider to be a piece of good luck. To sum up, I probably wouldn't want to visit that place again, but if I hadn't visited that market, I wouldn't have discovered what local shopping experience could be like. Okay, so that's my sample answer. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel. And if you have any questions or commentaries, please leave them in the comment section. And see you in the next video.